I'm reading from the Gospel of Mark, the 2nd chapter, beginning with the first verse. A few days later, when Jesus again entered Capernaum, the people heard that he had come home. So many gathered that there was no room left, not even outside the door, and he preached the word to them. Some men came, bringing to him a paralytic, carried by 4 of them. Since they could not get him to Jesus because of the crowd, they made an opening in the roof above Jesus. And after digging through it, lowered the mat the paralyzed man was lying on. When Jesus saw their faith, he said to the paralytic, "Son, your sins are forgiven." Now some teachers of the law were sitting there thinking to themselves, "Why does this fellow talk like that? He's blaspheming. Who can forgive sins but God alone?" Immediately Jesus knew in his spirit that this was what they were thinking in their hearts, and he said to them, "Why are you thinking these things? Which is easier to say to the paralytic, 'Your sins are forgiven,' or to say, 'Get up, take your mat, and walk'? But that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins." He said to the paralytic, "I tell you, get up, take up your mat, and go home." He got up, took his mat, and walked out in full view of them all. This amazed everyone, and they praised God, saying, "We have never seen anything like this." I think it's almost been 40 years. It was back in the 80s. There was a plane crash in Iowa. I believe it was Iowa City, but I'm not sure. But it was right there close to where those 4 states come together. The big story out of it was that this small city had a disaster preparedness plan, and they were ready. And so they were able to save a bunch of people. One of the photographs that seemed to capture the whole spirit of the thing was a colonel in the Air National Guard running to an ambulance carrying a child in his arms. And after the story went around to papers all over the country, he went to visit the child in the hospital, and on his way there, a reporter asked him what it feel like to save that child. And he said, "God saved him. I just carried him." I am starting my 32nd year in pastoral ministry. I've been a pastor more years than I've not been a pastor for my life. I was asked once, "How many people have I saved?" 0. None. Zilch. None. I haven't saved anyone. I don't save people. I can't save people. Jesus saves people. And in my 32 years of ministry, I have seen people come to know Jesus for the first time. And more than that, I have seen people who already knew Jesus changed by him. I've seen their lives transformed. I have seen them called into mission work, called into service. We had one man at the church I was pastoring, and I got a call from the Gideons, and I thought, oh, they just want to come and preach on Sunday. And I thought, fine, we got a Sunday phone. No, that's not what they wanted. They said, we need more Gideons. Do you have any men in your church who could be Gideons? And they told me what it required to be Gideon. I said, yeah, we got a couple of them. Let me give you a name or to, and they passed the names on. A man in the congregation owned an auction house. Now, obviously, being an auctioneer, he had no problem standing in front of people talking, which was why I immediately thought of him. It changed his life. He found a call to service. And besides being an auctioneer, he was a deer hunter. And every year he went to deer camp, first week of the season. And his first year as a Gideon, he was a little upset because the Gideon convention that they really want all the new members to attend was the first week of deer season. And he goes, I don't know, do I want to go to deer season or do I want to go to convention? So he went to he said, well, he called the person who had invited him, and the guy said, well, I'll tell you what. I got another deer camp you can go to. It was fine, we'll do this, and then I'll go to the other deer camp. So he went to the convention. Next week he went to the deer camp. He met a man there, sitting in their hunting blind for 6 hours, starting at 4 in the morning. And while he was up there, he took out his pocket Bible and began to read to the man. And the man accepted Christ. And then he went back to the Gideons and proposed that they start placing Bibles in hunting lodges around the country instead of just hotels. I don't know if they've done that. But he even wanted them to make them a special camouflage cover hunting Bible. Now, he will tell you, he'll be the first to tell you, he did not save that man. Christ saved that man. But he brought that man to Christ. If he hadn't missed his regular deer camp and attended this other deer camp and sat out in a blind with a stranger for 6 hours, cold and wet, and started reading from his Bible, that man would not have met Jesus that day. We don't do miracles. At least I have never performed a miracle. I've seen miracles done. I've been the beneficiary of some miracles that Christ has done. My family has had miracles done for us. I have seen church members get well when the doctors have said there's nothing we can do. I have seen people in financial difficulty find resources when there's no reason for those resources to show up right when they need them, to keep the power on or to put food on the table. I believe in miracles, but I've never done one. But I believe that I've been a helper for Christ as he has performed many miracles. yourself in this story. You can see yourself as one of the crowds that's gathered in the house with Jesus. And probably the shock is dirt starts falling from the ceiling, and there's strange noises coming from the top, and you wonder if the building's going to collapse on you. And then the hole's dug in the building, and somebody is lowered down, and you see Jesus heal them. Must have been remarkable. Maybe you see yourself as the paralyzed man, the one who needs Jesus, the one who Jesus heals, the one who Jesus forgives, the one who Jesus saves. And there may have been times in your lives where you felt that way, where you could do nothing. You couldn't get to Jesus. I see myself as one of the friends, as one of the men who carried their friend to Jesus, and who wouldn't let the obstacle of a crowd keep them away, who was willing to climb on the roof and dig a hole through it to make sure that their friend got to see Jesus, so that Jesus could help them. That's where I see myself. That's where you can be too. That's where you can see yourselves. Relax, don't worry. Jesus doesn't ask you to save anyone. Jesus doesn't ask you to heal anyone, unless you're a doctor. Jesus asks you to help. Now, we have an advantage that those friends did. Unfortunately, there is no crowd here keeping people from seeing Jesus. Anybody who wants to come here and meet Jesus won't have problems getting in the door. They won't even have problems finding a parking space. It is our job not to heal them, not to save them. It is our job to bring them to Jesus. Jesus does the rest. Miracles still happen. God still works. Jesus still saves. But He has given us, as His followers, as His church, the job of helping with the miracle, the task of bringing those who need Jesus to meet Him. Our closing hymn is number 596.